Republican lawmakers today demanded Governor Corzine reopen the state budget and call a special session of the legislature to address the economic crisis. The lawmakers hammered the Democratic chief executive for what they say is his big spending response by a state government that's essentially broke. State House correspondent Jim Hooker has the story.
The four Republicans, including the Senate Minority Leader and Assembly Budget Officer, took turns slamming the governor's response to the economic crisis, right down to the emergency summit Corzine called with business leaders yesterday.
I'm not sure what it was. It seemed like a kind of a glorified Chamber of Commerce luncheon to me.
A linchpin of the governor's early response to the crisis, in part calling for stepping up big public works projects and billions of dollars to be spent on school construction and transportation, also came under assault.
In his State of the State and budget address this year, Corzine specifically referenced government overspending 59 times as a symptom of the affordability crisis. Yet his solutions yesterday simply revolve around more government spending.
I think the aftershocks of the crisis are going to make their full impact in the state in the months ahead.
Noting testimony before the Assembly Labor Committee yesterday, where a top university economist warned of a steep fall-off in income tax revenues tied to Wall Street, the Assembly Budget Officer called on the governor to reopen the state budget for review and possible revision, and for the former Wall Street titan to address a special session of the legislature.
It's his obligation and his duty as the governor of this state, and it's a special obligation because of his unique understanding of what goes on.
The Republicans probably should spend their time talking to the president to put together a stimulus program that would actually help us.
Corzine tells NJN News he doesn't see a need to reopen the budget or to call a special session of the legislature, though he says he is considering contingency plans just in case the economy continues to spiral downward. He also defends the budget the Democrats crafted for this fiscal year, saying it does its share to cut spending.
This is the first budget, I think, in history that's cut hundreds of millions of dollars of spending. It's the first time.
State Republicans say they have their own plans for addressing the economic downturn, including restoration of the Commerce and Economic Development Department, a suspension of new regulations, taxes and fees, and a rollback of the legislature's recently enacted affordable housing rewrite, where potentially steep fees are assessed against business expansions or development.
What was done was signed into law a job creation penalty, which essentially penalizes $10,000 for every job that's created.
Republicans also oppose proposed toll hikes on the Turnpike and Parkway, saying there are other ways to pay for transportation projects. Jim Hooker, NJN News, the State House.